Alright, you guys, so weirdly I've got a 17-minute game on the board against an opponent rated 396. So what can we expect from a player at this level? I'm just going to play d5 in response to d4. Haven't played that in an awful long time. And see what they do. Okay, so this is like a kind of reverse Danish. The pawn is undefended, so I may as well just take it. Put the question back to white. So where are they from? Malaysia. So now this pawn's just really looking for an opportunity to swap itself off at any time. Okay, now I can just develop my king's knight, protect the pawn once, and also it's moving one of my minor pieces there, preparing to castle kingside maybe. This pawn I'm attacking with a queen, it's defended once by their queen. Okay, now I think it's a good time just to swap off that spare pawn. It was doubled up anyway, probably didn't have long in this world. Take with the pawn would be an error, that would create an isolated pawn. Knight's better, yeah. Knight or queen would be okay. Now I can pin the knight though. So I'm looking for ways to get my pieces out into the board and also just create not necessarily immediate problems for white, but potential problems for white. Okay, that's a curious response because he's broken the pin, but he's broken the pin by moving the queen, and he's also trapped in his own dark squared bishop in the process. Now, if I capture the knight and G recaptures, then white's going to end up with these two isolated pawns, which isn't fantastic. Queen's still defending that, knight's defending that. I can take out the knight. I could also just develop here, which is probably the more principled approach. Develop, put two attackers on there. So there are two defenders right now. So we've got queen and knight defending. However, I could take out the knight. And then if pawn recaptures, then I've got two attackers then on this pawn, you see. Yeah. And I could win the pawn that way. Okay, well, in fact, the knight has voluntarily vacated the space. So what's his idea? He can't really go there. Now if he goes here, both these pawns are currently protected by my bishop. I'm inclined to grab this, I think, probably with a knight. If queen takes, we could end up with an exchange of queens. That's probably not a bad thing. And then if my knight recaptures, it'll be here looking at c. So I'm going to grab with the queen here. Just do a sanity check. Can't see any immediate issues. The sanity check is probably the first thing that goes out the window when you're playing against somebody who's a lot lower rated. And it can come back and bite you on the arse if you don't do that. It's just a really good discipline in general to say whether I'm playing a 1700 or a 700, doesn't matter, I'm going to use the same mental discipline throughout. Okay, so now you can see I've got a lead in development. I've got 3 pieces out on the board compared to white's 2 pieces. I'm a couple of pawns up already. Okay, that's like a spite check really. So I could grab the bishop and then knight recaptures, but then I'm in the same kind of problem with a knight on here looking at c7. I think I would probably rather kick the bishop and then possibly still grab that. I do have actually that now with check, but I'm in check right now, so I'm gonna gain the initiative, make the bishop move. If he moves back here, I might even double kick with b5, yeah. Okay, so he's gone back there. So bishop's looking at f7. The first thing you should always do is say, okay, what just changed on the board? Well, the bishop's moved from here to here, right? So what's he doing now? He's looking there, but that's not threatened by this knight here because this knight's on a dark square. Next move he's got to go to a light square, then he's just looking at dark squares again, so no issue. So I think now I can just go ahead and grab c2 with a fork on the king and the rook. Let's just grab the rook, I think. Don't think there's anything better right now. Yeah, just grab the rook. I'm going to make this bishop move as well. I might be able to move and make the pawn recapture. It's kind of a desperado thing. We also have potentially a check there. It's currently covered by the knight though. But it's a pretty comfortable situation. So I think really I want to push maybe e6, get my bishop out, get my king castled. That's the general plan. This knight's poor. Haha. Alright, that's interesting. I could also castle here and put my opponent straight in check. I mean, that's a good way to get some initiative. If the king then vacates this square, which I think he has to do, I think he's got to go there or there, yeah? If I move with check. That could be interesting. Let's try that one. Because that might just free up. I think we're going to free up c2 for the knight, and wherever the king goes, actually, either of those, knight comes here now with check again, look. I'm very pleased about that. So yeah, again, only one square for the king. And now, let's get my evil on. What's the most evil that I can do? Nothing really. I mean, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 attacking pieces now. I think it's just time to play e6 and then get... Would e5 even be better? No, I like e6. It makes that pawn safer. Get this guy out in the game. We're not far off checkmate there, actually. See the difference between attacking with 5 pieces or attacking with 2. A lot of people just think you can launch an attack with 1 or 2 pieces, and yeah, I mean you might get lucky with like a queen backed up by a bishop and get a sneaky checkmate on f2 or f7 or whatever. But okay, I'm going to throw in check here. King's not got many squares to go to. No, it's only one, I think. The bishop is defended. So I'd like to give check there, but my knight's the defender of that bishop. So how can I defend the bishop? Let's think. I've got rook here, it's a possibility, attacks that bishop and defends that bishop, yeah? Let's get all the rooks and let's bring everyone to the party. And then knight here, can't go there, can't go there. Can go there now, because I've just blocked off this bishop, yeah? But this king is going to be, he's not going to have a happy time for the rest of this game. If I can sort my evil out. Nothing like a bit of evil to go with your morning coffee. This is what we call development. I mean, this is like, you know, every single piece. It's like a dog fight, like being surrounded by flies, you know. Okay, so the bishop was under attack. He's retreated the bishop back to a2. I now have this. Okay, if that, he's not got this, and he's not got that. And that means I think he's going to have to go here. I think so. Let's try that. Bishop still defended. I think that's forced. Time to bring the other rook in and bring you around to here. That would be... Oh, blocked it. But that's a very bad block. I mean, look, 1, 2, 3. No, it'd be much better moving the king. So now I can capture that safely. Yeah, and again... Now he can actually go... He's got 2 options now. He's going to have to move the king now. Knight's covering both of those squares, so I can't check with a... Oh! So I can check with the bish. And the king's going to have to go there anyway. I think I'll just grab the rook, eh? Grab the rook with the bishop. Wins the exchange. What's not to like? I'm a man. Okay, pawn takes. Okay, so where's the king got? He's got there. He's actually got all of these squares now available. So I think the idea now is just to win at all costs. So what do we do? It's just, I could throw in a check. There's no point. Not really. Let's bring the other rook in finally. I'll come to here, shut off these squares, then a check. Might work. Does feel like stealing kids' lunch money sometimes when playing somebody this much lower rated, but the point of the channel is to help you guys to improve. So if you're around the 400 range, what should you be looking at? Okay, we'll go through it again and say, okay, let's point out where there may have been errors or things that have been overlooked. Let's just double up the rooks here. You can always kick the knight away. Good for not resigning though. Okay, so this is an attack on the bishop. I'm just going to move with check. Now he's got to go onto this rank. And then I've got maybe even a ladder mate maybe coming now. Don't see how he's going to stop that. So he can't get here because knight, can't get there because of the bishop. And he can't block. So that, because this one's defended by the knight. And then that's going to come also defended by the knight. Okay, and there we go, checkmate. Okay, good game. Right, let's go back to the start and let's analyse what went wrong for white. D4, D5, E4. Don't even know what you call this opening. I mean, it's a bit like kind of reverse England gambit, but I mean, straight away he's giving up a pawn. That pawn is undefended. Yes, he's challenging for the centre, but weakly, right? I think bringing out knights at this point would have been okay, and maybe pushing E3, but after you've brought out that dark square bishop. So that would have been a normal kind of London system, or accelerated London system opening. But here he's given up a pawn with, it appears, no real plan to recover it. I can defend that very easily, and then he simply offers up another pawn. So now his king side is looking very spacious and not good. Good move to recapture with a knight. Knight now gets pinned. Okay, so we're 2-2 in terms of development. Every piece that's out in the board is worth 1. Okay, if you castle, it's worth 2. So you're keeping score of development. Okay, now the queen moves forward. Unusual move, very unusual move at this point of the game. Also trapping in the dark squared bishop. That is the move of, yes, he's broken the pin on the knight. That's all. So now bishop takes knight, G takes is perfectly playable. But I just bring up my other knight here. Now I've got 2 attackers on here, 2 defenders. And now he moves the knights. Okay, so this is one principle. A, he's moving a piece that he's already invested a move in to develop. He's moving a developed piece a second time for no great reason. B, he's put it on the side of the board. And the problem with that is that this knight is now only looking at 50% of its potential squares. Okay, so we've cut off half of the knight's power by putting it on the side of the board, because the other 4 squares that the knight could be protecting, attacking, addressing, whatever, are off the board. And then finally, he's moved this knight from a square where it was defended by a pawn to a square where it isn't defended. So there's really nothing to recommend that move whatsoever. So now we go for a queen trade, because I see that I've also got this c2, and that one of the reasons I've got that is because he's wasted time, he's not developed his bishops, he's not castled. You know, it's all gone wrong already in the first few moves for white. That's just have a check for no good reason whatsoever. Easily kickable. And also this actually improves my position because it's taking a square away from white's developed bishop, and it's blocking the diagonal towards my king, which reduces the opportunities for checks and stuff like that in the future, right? So now we have the fork on the king. King is forced to move, and again, it's because he hasn't castled. And he hasn't castled because he hasn't finished developing his pieces. And he hasn't finished developing his pieces because he's invested 2 moves, for example, in... he's moved the queen there for no good reason. He's moved the knight a second time for no good reason. Okay, that's why this initiative really helps. So rook to there, and then I castle with check. So now my king has more safety than white's king. White's king's now out in the middle of the board. And I'm already up a rook and 3 pawns. Okay, more checks. This is 2 things. It's a containing move. It's kind of defending this pawn here. And it's also unleashing my final piece. So now I've completed development after castling. And this king is now finding himself in a horrible kind of crossfire of material. It's as simple as that, really. You know, this is why the initiative is so important earlier on in the game. So I think that's probably all we need to see of this particular game, but thank you to my opponent for being a good sport and probably playing my first ever 17-minute chess game. Okay, so I hope you picked up 1 or 2 things from that. I hope it's been interesting. Thank you for watching. See you soon.